The email hit my inbox at 9:47 a.m. Subject line, notice of contract termination, Redstone Aerospace. 7 years of relationship building, gone in 2 sentences. I read it once, then again. Then I did something that probably sounds crazy. I laughed. Not shock, not anger. Relief, because I'd been counting down to this exact moment for 9 days straight. Let me back up 3 weeks. I knew the axe was coming the second Tyler Vaughn leaned against my office door frame like he paid the mortgage. New VP, slick suit, Stanford MBA, never missed a bonus, never closed a deal face-to-face. Sport, he says, because of course he does. Your handshake diplomacy thing, Riley. Impressive run, but we're pivoting to scalable engagement models. Translation, fired, but he'll dress it up with consultant jargon so it sounds like innovation. My name's Riley Carson. I'm 54 years old. Spent 8 years in the Navy doing logistics, then 30 years in corporate sales. Started when people still use fax machines. I've closed deals through 3 recessions, survived a pandemic, and logged more red-eye flights than my doctor wants to know about. 10 minutes after Tyler's little speech, I'm sitting in a glass conference room with HR. They slide a severance packet across the table like it's a birthday card. My badge deactivates before I've even finished signing the exit form. They hand me a cardboard banker's box with the company logo stamped on the side, as if corporate swag makes up for the fact they just gutted 37 strategic accounts with one lazy decision. Walking past my desk for the last time, I let my fingers brush the brass nameplate I'd kept from my first VP promotion. That nameplate survived 2 companies, 4 office moves, and more contract negotiations than I can count. Inside my desk drawer sat a binder. 15 years of relationship maps, renewal scripts, and the kind of client trust you can't log in Salesforce. The same binder Tyler just called Replaceable. Here's what Tyler didn't know. 3 of those accounts, my whales, have key person clauses in their contracts. My name spelled out in black and white. No me, no contract. Legal mentioned it during his onboarding. He didn't even blink. Somewhere in his buzzword blender brain, he thinks AI touchpoints can replace a 6 a.m. coffee with a client whose daughter's robotics team you sponsored. On my monitor sat a sticky note that had been there for years. Check section 12C. I wrote it during a late-night contract review after a different exec tried to cut me out of a deal I'd closed. That clause is my quiet insurance policy, the one I fought for in a conference room nobody remembers now. I smiled when I saw it. This was going to be interesting. They think silence means surrender, but silence means I'm counting the days until renewal dates hit. Counting how long until the first termination notice arrives. Counting every mistake they make now that they've handed my accounts to someone whose idea of relationship management is a webinar with bad lighting. I'd heard Tyler's pitch before. Different VP, same MBA playbook. The words change every decade. Synergy, disruption, now it's scalable models. But the arrogance stays the same. The kid probably thinks he invented sales because he can read a Salesforce dashboard. I didn't beg, didn't argue, didn't look back. Tyler's the kind of man who thinks winning means talking louder than you. My win would be quieter, measured, timed, executed until he's standing in a boardroom wondering why the air feels so thin. So I walked out, dress shoes clicking on tile, banker's box under my arm. The security guard gave me that half-sympathetic nod reserved for people who just lost their job but didn't deserve to. In my head, I was already laying out next steps. Dust off the Lighthouse license agreements. Pull the last 3 years of revenue numbers for those whales. Make sure every file is backed up where it belongs, on my side of the fence. I call my methodology Lighthouse after my old man, Coast Guard 30 years. His rule, keep the light on, people know where home is. That's what I did for my clients. Tyler thought an AI chatbot could do the same thing. Because here's the thing about being replaceable, sport. The people who say it never bothered to read the fine print. And Section 12C isn't fine print. It's a loaded weapon with a hair trigger. And they just handed it to me. By the time that box hit the passenger seat of my F-150, I knew exactly how they'd handle transitioning my accounts. Sure enough, 2 days later, word got back from Parker Donnelly, an old friend still on the inside. Tyler rolled out his grand retention plan, 1 webinar and a string of mass emails written like bad press releases. No personal check-ins. No remembering clients' kids' names. No handwritten thank you notes after renewals. Just glossy PDFs and the hollow confidence of someone who thinks engagement is measured in click-through rates. Redstone Aerospace was first to blink. By blink, I mean they sent a beautifully polite nuclear-grade email to the contracts inbox. Per Section 14. 2. Due to key person change, we are exercising our right to terminate for convenience, effective immediately. The kind of line that when you've been in the game long enough, you can hear being read in a lawyer's voice. That's when I laughed at my desk, reading it on my phone. Not joy exactly, more like the dark humor of watching someone burn down the barn to swat a fly. That account alone was worth more in annual revenue than Tyler's entire department's combined salary. I'd spent 7 years building it, brick by brick. Flew to their Alabama facility the day after Hurricane Katrina to help them meet a DoD deadline. Colonel Hugh Banner's daughter still sends me Christmas cards. And now, gone in the time it took them to click send. So I smoked a rack of ribs that weekend. When they came off the grill, I wrote cost of doing business in BBQ sauce across the top and took a photo. Almost mailed it to their office, but decided the joke was better left in my kitchen. The part that would make them choke if they knew. Those key person riders weren't some freebie the company dreamed up. I negotiated everyone myself, sometimes dragging legal into calls they hated, sometimes waiting out procurement until they caved. They're rare in corporate contracts for a reason. Companies don't like being handcuffed to an actual human. But my whales insisted on them because they knew what they were buying wasn't just a service. It was me. In the old days, I kept renewal dates on a wall calendar in my office, circled in thick red marker. Part talisman, part scoreboard. That calendar's hanging in my home office now, and I can see exactly what's about to happen. Apex Industrial Systems. Renewal notice due in 9 days. Summit Manufacturing, 15 days. I don't even need to call them. The clock's ticking for free. I could almost picture Tyler in his corner office, spinning his ergonomic chair toward the window while explaining to CEO Neil Armitage that some churn is normal during leadership transitions. That's what amateurs call losing a customer you thought was captive. Pros like me, we call it a slow bleed. And this was just the first drop. That night, I opened my old files and skimmed through the clauses again. Clean, tight, airtight. I'd drafted them to survive not just bad leadership, but leadership too arrogant to know they were the problem. The whales didn't need me to reach out. They knew the drill. My departure wasn't a hiccup. It was a tripwire. 3 days later, my personal phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. When I picked up, I heard a familiar voice, warm, measured, a question that wasn't really asking. "Hey Riley, just checking in. You doing okay?" They were fishing, but politely, to see if I was available. I smiled into the receiver. The bleed had begun. It didn't take long for the silence to turn into something you could hear humming, like something big was coming. 9 days after Redstone walked, Apex Industrial sent their own formal goodbye. No emotion, no fluff. Pursuant to Section 11B, we are terminating effective immediately due to key person change. They didn't even bother asking about the transition plan because they knew there wasn't one. That account had been my baby since the ink dried on their first contract. When their CFO, Carolyn Travers, was diagnosed with cancer, I ran interference with her board for 6 months. She beat it. We renewed for 5 years. Now the entire deal was just gone. Summit Manufacturing didn't wait for their renewal date. 4 days later, their termination notice landed in legal's inbox. Same reason cited, same signature block from Len Abbott, their VP of procurement. Another 7-figure account gone, and all Tyler had to show for it was a webinar replay nobody watched past slide 4. Inside the company, it was chaos. Parker described it like watching a kitchen catch fire while the head chef insists the smell is fine. Leadership ordered a rapid response plan, which was code for endless meetings where everyone argued about messaging instead of fixing the core problem, that the clients weren't buying services, they were buying me. That's when the real comedy started. The CEO's assistant, who'd never once spoken to me directly in all my years there, sent an email with the subject line, "Need your retention scripts ASAP." No hi, no hope you're well. Just an expectation that I'd drop everything and hand over the very thing I'd fought to keep mine, Lighthouse. They had no clue those scripts weren't company property. Every year without fail, I licensed them to the company for 12 months at a negotiated rate. That rate got tucked into an additional services clause in my contract, signed off by prior counsel who actually knew how to read. The day they walked me out was the day that license expired. I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled my own copies from storage, work logs, email chains, the signed Lighthouse license addenda going back a decade. Each one marked employee-originated methodology, licensed, not assigned. My performance reviews backed it up too. His proprietary relationship framework has resulted in X% retention and Y% upsell. They weren't even shy about calling it proprietary. They just assumed proprietary meant theirs. I spread the paperwork across my dining table like a general laying out battle plans. This wasn't revenge yet. It was preservation. You don't swing until you've indexed every receipt, every signature, every timestamp. Then my phone lit up. Caller ID, the company. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. Per your contract, CEO Neil Armitage's voice barked before I could even say hello. You are required to return immediately, and we will seek to compel performance if necessary. His tone was gravel and caffeine, the kind of voice you hear in a man who's been awake too many nights realizing he bet on the wrong horse. I let him talk. I let him think he was dictating terms. I didn't correct him. I didn't mention that Section 12C was sitting highlighted in my copy of the contract like a loaded trap. Instead, I gave him something he didn't expect. Fine, I said. Let's read the contract together. I could hear his jaw tighten on the other end. The silence that followed wasn't confusion. It was you could hear him realizing he'd just stepped onto thin ice. The invitation came through as a calendar block titled Emergency Strategy Session, Mandatory Attendance. I accepted without comment and replied with one line, please confirm counsel will be present. No way was I stepping into their boardroom without a witness whose job it was to read the same language I was about to hand them. That morning, I dressed the way I do when I know I'm going to war, but intend to look like I'm going to brunch. Navy suit, the same one I wore to close my first 8-figure deal. White shirt, no tie. I carried two things, a slim leather folio holding 3 clean copies of my employment agreement, and a separate folder marked in black Sharpie Lighthouse license agreements, complete. The folio was for show. The folder was the loaded weapon. When I walked into the boardroom, the temperature felt a few degrees too cold, the way HVAC always does in rooms where people make bad decisions they hope to blame on someone else. CEO Neil Armitage was already at the head of the table, tie slightly askew, coffee in a paper cup instead of his usual stainless tumbler. Small details, but telling. Tyler Vaughn was there too, leaning back in his chair with that smirk that says this is all just a formality and you're about to play your part. HR Director Diane Kowalski sat to the side, lips pressed together, shuffling papers she didn't need to shuffle. And sure enough, General Counsel Gordon Pelletier was there, adjusting his glasses every few seconds like a nervous tick. Neil opened the meeting with pure bluster, projecting his voice like we were in a stadium instead of a glass-walled room. He threw around words like breach, obligation, and critical operational need. Tyler occasionally nodded along as if his agreement gave weight to anything. When Neil paused for breath, I laid my folio on the table, unzipped it slowly, and slid a copy of my employment agreement toward him, one toward Gordon, one toward Diane. Let's read it together, I said evenly. I reached into my jacket pocket and produced 2 yellow sticky flags, placing one on Section 12C and another on Exhibit D, the section titled Employee-Originated Accounts. I didn't say what was in them. I didn't need to. The point was to make counsel's eyes go exactly where I wanted them. Gordon started reading fast, then slower. His pen stopped tapping. He read the same paragraph twice. He glanced at Exhibit D, then back to Section 12C, then up at me with an expression that was no longer neutral. Tyler's smirk faltered just a hair. Diane had stopped shuffling papers entirely. I'd like to make sure everyone here understands, I said, voice still calm, that Section 12C was negotiated after prior leadership attempted to reassign my accounts without acknowledgement or credit. It outlines specific conditions for what happens when the company terminates me without cause and then attempts to compel my continued service. I tapped the yellow flag on Exhibit D, and Exhibit D identifies which accounts are defined as employee-originated. Those are the same accounts the company has been trying to retain for the last 2 weeks. Unsuccessfully. Neil leaned back slightly, as if physical distance from the paper would change the words printed on it. Gordon kept reading, slower now, as if every sentence weighed more than the last. And behind his glasses, I saw it. The moment when a lawyer realizes the client who thought they were in control just walked into their own trap. I didn't rush him. In the Navy, I learned, never interrupt when your opponent is discovering his own mistake. Gordon finally set his pen down, flattening his palm over Section 12C like he was holding it in place. His voice was slower now, deliberate as he read aloud for the room. Upon termination without cause, 1. Non-compete and non-solicit dissolve with respect to employee-originated accounts. 2. Any attempt to compel service triggers a mandatory buyout equal to 3.2 times the trailing 12-month revenue from those accounts. 3. Continued use of lighthouse materials post-termination without license constitutes willful infringement with fee shifting. He stopped, adjusted his glasses again, and read it silently one more time. I could see the shape of the realization moving through him. First curiosity, then disbelief, then that quiet, resigned understanding lawyers get when they know the other side isn't just holding a trump card, they're holding the whole deck. Tyler, still trying to project control, let out a soft laugh and muttered something about overly generous language that wouldn't hold up. Gordon didn't even look at him. Instead, he turned to Diane, his voice low enough to make the entire table lean in. "Did you terminate him without cause?" Diane didn't answer right away. She shifted in her seat, glanced at Neil, then down at the table. The silence was enough. Neil broke the moment by clearing his throat and flipping through the agreement as if another page might change the one in front of him. But he wasn't fooling anyone. The math was already forming in Gordon's head. 3 whales, trailing 12-month revenue in the high 7 figures, multiplied by 3.2, plus statutory damages for willful IP infringement if they'd touched Lighthouse since my last paid license expired. Gordon turned to finance. Pull the trailing 12-month revenue for the 3 employee-originated accounts listed in Exhibit D. Now. A junior analyst in a navy suit slipped out of the boardroom, laptop already open, moving like someone who knew this wasn't just busy work. It was a live grenade. 10 minutes later, he was back, pale and tight-lipped, whispering the numbers to CFO Alan Briggs, who didn't even try to hide the way his shoulders slumped. The total was announced like a confession, a high 7-figure revenue stream multiplied by 3.2 per Section 12C. The buyout number didn't just land, it crushed the air out of the room. Then operations made things worse. "We did use his lighthouse scripts last week," one manager said hesitantly, like a kid admitting they'd broken a window but thought maybe it wouldn't be noticed. Every head turned toward me. I reached into my folder and slid a single-page document across the table. The most recent lighthouse license agreement, clearly stating the expiration date, the exact day they walked me out. No renewal invoice paid, no extension signed, which meant every use since then wasn't just a breach. It was willful infringement. Fee shifting mandatory. From my bag, I pulled the access logs. "I have security alerts in place for post-termination access," I said softly. "Here's your login history for the shared drive where my templates live. Timestamps, IP addresses, user IDs." My voice didn't rise, didn't crack. I kept it low, steady, because when you speak softly in a room full of men who think volume equals control, they have to lean in. And when they lean in, they're listening. Alan scanned the logs, his pen clicking faster. Gordon took the page from him, read it once, and set it face down like the paper itself might burn him. Neil rubbed his temple. Tyler still hadn't said a word, but the smirk was long gone, replaced by the vacant stare of someone trying to remember how the game works when all the pieces are suddenly against him. I let the silence hang for a few beats longer before I opened the leather folio again and laid down 2 envelopes, neatly labeled Option A, Option B. I slid them forward side by side. "Option A," I began. "You retain me as an independent consultant at $12.50 an hour, 250-hour minimum, payable in advance. Tyler resigns. You issue a public statement for role misclassification and reinstate the Lighthouse license for 12 months at triple the previous rate." I tapped the second envelope. "Option B," I decline. "I join a competitor who has already papered agreements with my 3 whales. You wire the buyout amount plus infringement damages by Friday at 5 p.m. My tone never changed. It wasn't anger anymore. It was arithmetic, numbers with teeth. Tyler finally found his voice and it came out too loud. "This is extortion. The Lighthouse methodology is company property. You built it here." I didn't interrupt. I just tilted my head and looked at him like you might look at a dog barking at its own reflection. Then I turned slowly to Gordon because I didn't need to answer, not when someone else could do it for me. Gordon didn't even glance at Tyler. He picked up my contract, flipped to Exhibit D, and read aloud. "Lighthouse proprietary methodology, licensed annually by mutual agreement. Ownership remains with the employee-originated account holder." He set the page down, looked directly at Tyler, and said, "It's not yours." The words landed like a gavel. Tyler was what, 36? Probably never worked a Saturday. Never closed a deal without a script. But sure, sport. Explain business to the guy who was signing contracts when you were in high school. I leaned forward, one fingertip resting on the exact sentence in Section 12C that Neil had been so eager to invoke when he called me days earlier. "This is the line you thought would force me back," I said, my voice low but sharp enough to cut through the stale boardroom air. What it actually says is that any attempt to compel my service after a termination without cause triggers the mandatory buyout and dissolves every restrictive covenant tied to my accounts. Gordon's nod was slow, deliberate, and final. It wasn't just agreement, it was concession. Neil's jaw worked as if chewing on gravel. Finally, he asked, what would it take to make this go away? There was no menace in the question now, just exhaustion. I didn't hesitate. I tapped the thicker of the two envelopes, option B, and stood. That one. No one reached for it. They didn't need to. They knew exactly what was inside. The buyout total, the infringement damages, and the knowledge that my 3 whales were already signed, sealed, and ready under a rival's banner. Did I feel good watching that wire hit? You're damn right I did. Not because I crushed them. Because I was right. 30 years of knowing how this works, and it finally mattered. The whales didn't choose your logo, I said, sliding the invoice closer. They chose me. And my new employer's welcome packet is already in my truck. Tyler started to open his mouth, maybe to throw one last scrap of ego into the void, but Neil caught sight of the circled total on the bill and cut him off with a curt, close it. I left the invoice on the table, left the silence that came with it, left them staring at the kind of number you can't wish away with an all-hands pep talk. By the time the wire hit my account 3 days later, $12.3 million, just like the contract said. My old badge wouldn't open the lobby turnstile anymore. My calendar was already full. Parker called it the cleanest kill he'd ever seen. I called it arithmetic. That night I poured 2 fingers of bourbon and sat on my deck watching the sun go down. My phone was lighting up. 3 competitors, 2 headhunters, 1 private equity firm. The whales were already in motion. Tyler updated his LinkedIn the next week, exploring new opportunities. I didn't bother clicking. 30 years taught me one thing the young guns always forget. Relationships aren't scalable, and neither is respect.